Sometimes the cruelest battles aren't fought with weapons, but with wills. I whispered to the framed photo on my desk, tracing Christopher's smile with my fingertip. And you knew that all along, didn't you? The morning light filtered through the curtains of my home office, casting long shadows across the polished hardwood floor. 6 years of memories lived in these walls, and now they were witnesses to a war I never wanted to fight. I'm Madison, and this is the story of how I lost everything, only to discover I was capable of so much more than survival. It started 48 hours after my husband's death. I stood on our front porch on Beach Street, clutching my overnight bag in one hand and a withered bouquet from the hospital in the other. My hair was a mess from 2 sleepless nights in the ICU chair, and my eyes were swollen from crying. Christopher had fought valiantly against a sudden stroke in Maplewood General Hospital's emergency room. He was only 38. My hands trembled as I tried to insert the key into the lock. It wouldn't turn. I frowned, tried again. Nothing. Taking a deep breath, I wiped my palm against my jeans and attempted the spare key. Still nothing. My heart began to race, and this time it wasn't from grief. I knew this lock, I'd used it every day for 6 years. Now it was as if I'd become a stranger to my own home. That's when I noticed something odd through the living room window. Boxes. Cardboard boxes everywhere. A leather suitcase I didn't recognize. Silk throw pillows in a shade of burgundy that had never been part of our decor. I pressed my face against the glass, squinting to get a better look, and that's when I saw them. Victoria, Christopher's mother, was inside. So was his sister Olivia. They were unpacking boxes as if they were moving in, sipping tea from my favorite bone china cups, a wedding gift from Christopher's aunt. My head spun as I watched this surreal scene unfold. I knocked. No answer. I knocked harder, the sound echoing through the quiet morning air of Sunset View District. Finally, the door opened, and there stood Victoria, her silver hair perfectly coiffed, arms crossed over her expensive cashmere sweater. Her lips curled into what I can only describe as a satisfied smile. "Madison," she said, tilting her head slightly. "I didn't expect you quite so soon. What's going on?" I stepped forward, my voice surprisingly steady despite the hurricane of emotions inside me. "Why can't I open the door? Why are you here?" Victoria didn't move. Instead, she leaned against the doorframe as if this were nothing more than a minor inconvenience. "Because you don't live here anymore," she said plainly. "My son paid for this house, and now that he's gone, it belongs to his real family. You can leave." I blinked, certain I must have misheard. I'm his wife," I stammered. "We bought this house together." "What are you talking about?" Victoria scoffed, the sound dripping with contempt. "Oh, please. You married him with no prenup, no significant career, no children. You contributed nothing. Christopher paid the mortgage with his Pinnacle Tech salary. Everything here belongs to him, and now that he's gone, it reverts to us." Her voice was calm, almost cheerful, which made it all the more chilling. My blood ran cold as Olivia appeared behind her, holding a stack of my grandmother's antique dinner plates. "You left the door unlocked at the hospital," Olivia said with a smirk that matched her mother's. "We thought you wouldn't mind if we relocated some things." Something inside me snapped. I burst out laughing, the kind of laugh that comes from pure disbelief, tinged with a darkness I didn't know I possessed. Victoria's eyes narrowed. "What's so funny?" I steadied myself, wiping away a tear that I couldn't tell was from laughter or rage. "You're unpacking your designer luggage in a house you think belongs to you," I said, my voice low and steady. "But here's the thing, Victoria." I leaned in closer, close enough to smell her expensive perfume. "The house was mine long before today." Victoria's smirk faltered ever so slightly. 3 years ago," I continued, "when Christopher's investments at Cedar Crest Bank went south, thanks to your brilliant advice, by the way, I refinanced the house in my name. Every mortgage payment since then came from my account. Christopher was recovering, and I made sure we didn't lose everything." Victoria's jaw clenched as she processed this information. She turned to Olivia, clearly trying to formulate a response. But I wasn't finished. I didn't want to bring this up during the funeral arrangements, I said, my voice growing stronger with each word. I didn't want to be that person. But now. You changed my locks. You broke into my home. And you're unpacking as if you own the place. Olivia set down the plates, her face turning an interesting shade of red. That's not true, she protested weakly. He told us. What he told you doesn't matter, I cut her off. Because legally, this house is in my name. And the fact that you're here without permission? I pulled out my phone, my finger hovering over the keypad. That makes you trespassers. Should we see what the police think about that? Victoria snatched her designer handbag from the entryway table, calling for Olivia. This isn't over, Madison, she hissed, her composed facade cracking. This house should have stayed in the family. Christopher was too soft on you. I stepped back, watching them storm out like children caught stealing cookies. And there I stood on the porch of my own home, keys still useless in my hand, heart shattered but somehow stronger. They thought I was weak, that I had no fight left in me. But they had no idea who I had become while they were busy pretending I didn't matter. As I watched Victoria's luxury sedan speed away, I realized one thing with crystal clarity: this was just the beginning of a war they didn't know how to fight. Little did I know then just how far Victoria would go to try to destroy me, or how completely I would destroy her instead. I didn't sleep that night, even after having the locks changed. The house felt different now, not just empty without Christopher, but tainted by Victoria's invasion. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smug face, heard her cold voice, this house should have stayed in the family. The audacity of it all made my blood boil. Christopher had been gone for barely 2 days, and his family had already tried to erase me, not just from the house, but from his entire life. Our life. I woke before sunrise, made coffee I couldn't drink, and sat at the kitchen table staring at the empty chair where Christopher used to sit. He always added cinnamon to his coffee. I never liked it, but I still bought it just for him. The jar sat untouched on the counter, catching the first rays of dawn. My phone buzzed. A text from Nathan, Christopher's colleague at Pinnacle Tech. Madison, Victoria came to the office. She's demanding access to Christopher's work computer and files. Claims she needs to protect family interests. I stalled her, but she's threatening legal action. I felt a cold smile spread across my face. So, this was her next move. Thank you, Nathan, I texted back. Don't give her anything. All of Christopher's work assets are part of my spousal rights. I'll have my lawyer contact Pinnacle Tech's legal department. Within minutes, Victoria's number flashed on my screen. I let it ring out, watching as 3 more calls followed in quick succession. Finally, a text: "You're making a grave mistake, Madison. I know things about Christopher you don't want made public." My hands didn't shake as I typed my reply: "Blackmail, Victoria? How predictably desperate of you." I called Jessica, my lawyer, immediately. Her voice was crisp, professional, exactly what I needed. "She's trying to access his work files and threatening to reveal something about him," I explained. "Classic intimidation tactics," Jessica said. "But here's what she doesn't know: Christopher gave you power of attorney over his digital assets 3 months ago. I have the paperwork right here. She has no legal standing." "He knew," I whispered. "He knew she'd try something like this." "Christopher was smart," Jessica agreed. "And so are you. Save those threatening texts, we're building quite a case." That afternoon, I drove to Willow Grove Church for the funeral planning meeting. Victoria was already there, dressed in elaborate black mourning wear that looked more like a costume than genuine grief. When I walked in, she was speaking quietly to Pastor Michael, dabbing at dry eyes with a lace handkerchief. "Oh, and we'll need to change the eulogy," she was saying. As his mother, I should be the one to. "The eulogy stays as is," I interrupted, my voice carrying across the quiet room. "Christopher wrote it himself last year, after his first health scare. He wanted me to read it." Victoria spun around, her face twisting. "You're lying. My son would never." I pulled out my phone, opened my emails, and showed Pastor Michael the attachment: Christopher's final words, sent to me with the subject line: "Just in case, my love." As you can see, I said calmly, these are Christopher's wishes. Unless you're suggesting we disrespect your son's final requests. Victoria's mask cracked just slightly, but it was enough. She grabbed her designer bag and stormed out, the church door slamming behind her. But she wasn't done. Not even close. The next morning, I found my car vandalized in the driveway, deep scratches along both sides, too precise to be random. No proof it was Victoria, of course. Just like there was no proof she was behind the sudden cancellation of all our funeral flower arrangements, or the anonymous calls to Christopher's friends spreading rumors about our marriage. Each attack made me stronger. Every attempt to hurt me only reinforced what Christopher had known, that his mother was capable of anything. I was in his office, organizing papers, when I found it, a small leather journal hidden behind his collection of engineering manuals. Inside, in Christopher's neat handwriting, was a detailed account of every manipulation, every power play Victoria had attempted over the years. Mom's trying to control my investments again, one entry read. Claims she's just protecting the family legacy. Same pattern as always, guilt, then threats, then that sad disappointment act she's perfected. Madison sees right through her. That's why Mom hates her so much. The journal entries continued, painting a clear picture of a mother's toxic control and a son's gradual awakening. The final entry was dated just weeks before his death, made the last arrangements today. House is secured in Madison's name. Power of attorney transferred. Mom will try to take everything, she always does. But this time, I'm ready for her. I hugged the journal to my chest, tears flowing freely. Even in death, Christopher was protecting me, giving me ammunition for the battle he knew was coming. That's when my phone chimed with an email from Victoria's lawyer. They were contesting the house ownership, claiming Christopher had been unduly influenced when he transferred the property to my name. They wanted a full hearing, with Victoria presenting evidence of Christopher's compromised mental state during that period. I forwarded the email to Jessica, adding just 2 words, war room. Her reply was immediate, my office. 1 hour. Bring everything. I arrived at Riverstone Law with Christopher's journal, our financial records, and 6 years of documented manipulation by Victoria. Jessica's eyes gleamed as she reviewed the material. They want to claim Christopher was mentally compromised, she said, holding up the journal. This is a gift. Your husband documented everything, his clear decision-making, his mother's manipulation, his explicit wishes. Victoria just walked right into a trap. We spent hours building our counterattack. Every allegation they could make, we had documentation to disprove. Every claim about Christopher's mental state, we had his own words to refute. But why? I asked finally. Why go through all this when she has to know she can't win? Jessica looked up from her notes. Because this isn't about winning the house anymore. It's about control. As long as she's fighting you, she still has some power over Christopher's legacy. Some people would rather burn everything down than admit they've lost control. Then let's burn her instead, I said, surprising myself with the steel in my voice. That evening, I returned home to find Olivia sitting on my porch steps. She jumped up as I approached, her face pale. Madison, She stopped, twisting her hands together. I need to tell you something. About Mom. About what she's planning. I stood silently, watching her struggle with what appeared to be an actual conscience. She's going to bring up Christopher's medical records at the hearing, Olivia rushed out. From last year, when he was having memory issues. She's paying someone at Maplewood General to alter the dates, make it look like he was impaired when he signed the house over. I felt a cold, calm clarity settle over me. Thank you for telling me, I said quietly. Now, would you like to make a formal statement to my lawyer, or should I let the hospital know about this Medicare fraud attempt myself? Olivia's eyes widened. You'd report her? She could go to jail. No, Olivia. Your mother is sending herself to jail. I'm just holding the door open. She left quickly after that, shoulders hunched. I watched her hurry to her car, knowing Victoria would soon learn that her own daughter had betrayed her schemes. That night, I sat in Christopher's office chair, surrounded by the life we'd built together, and pulled out my phone one last time. I typed a message to Victoria. I found Christopher's journal. I know everything. Here's what happens next: you will withdraw your legal challenge. You will stay away from the funeral. You will never contact me again. If you don't, every documented instance of your manipulation, including your latest Medicare fraud attempt, goes public. Your choice. You have until tomorrow. I hit send, then opened Christopher's journal again, running my fingers over his familiar handwriting. Madison is stronger than Mom could ever understand. That's what scares her the most. He was right. And Victoria was about to find out just how right he'd been. Victoria's response to my ultimatum came at midnight, not by text or email, but with the sound of breaking glass. I bolted upright in bed at the crash, my heart pounding. Footsteps downstairs. Multiple sets. I grabbed my phone and Christopher's old baseball bat, silently cursing myself for not installing security cameras sooner. You can't hide everything, Madison. Victoria's voice echoed through the house. Not his real will, not his medical records, and certainly not my own daughter's betrayal. My blood ran cold. She knew about Olivia's warning. I dialed 911 with trembling fingers, whispering my address as I heard them ransacking Christopher's office downstairs. I raised him. Victoria's voice was getting louder, more hysterical. Everything he was, everything he had, it was because of me. And you? You're nothing but a gold digger who got lucky. Found it. Olivia's voice now, sharp with panic. Mom, I found the journal. I moved to the top of the stairs, bat ready. That's breaking and entering, Victoria, I called out, my voice steadier than I felt. The police are on their way. Oh, let them come. She laughed, a sound that sent chills down my spine. Let them see what I found in Christopher's old medical files. Let them see how you manipulated him when he was sick. My mind raced. What medical files? Then it hit me, she must have gotten to someone at Maplewood General after all. You mean the forged documents you paid for? I took one step down the stairs. Funny thing about hospitals, Victoria, they keep digital backups. Timestamps, access logs, everything. Your little Medicare fraud scheme is already documented. A crash from the office. You're lying. Mom, we need to go, Olivia's voice shook. The police. Shut up. Victoria screamed. You're as bad as she is. My own daughter, conspiring behind my back. Another crash, followed by Olivia's cry of pain. Without thinking, I ran down the stairs. The scene in the office stopped me cold. Victoria had Olivia pinned against Christopher's desk, one hand gripping her daughter's arm, the other holding, was that a letter opener? The moonlight through the broken window caught the metal edge. Mom, you're hurting me. Olivia struggled, tears streaming down her face. Hurting you? Victoria's laugh was unhinged. You betrayed your own family. Just like your brother did when he married her. I took a step forward. Victoria, put it down. She spun toward me, still gripping Olivia. Or what? You'll call the police? Let them come. Let everyone see what you really are. They'll see exactly what you are, I said quietly, nodding toward my phone propped on the bookshelf. The red recording light blinked steadily. Victoria's eyes widened. In that moment of shock, Olivia wrenched free, stumbling away from her mother. But Victoria was far from done. You think you've won? She advanced toward me, letter opener raised. I was protecting my son's legacy. Everything I did was for him. No, I stood my ground. Everything you did was for control. And Christopher knew it. That's why he made sure I had everything I needed to stop you. Liar. She lunged forward. Several things happened at once. Olivia screamed. I dodged. And two police officers burst through the front door, weapons drawn. Drop the weapon. Hands where we can see them. Victoria froze, letter opener glinting in the darkness. For a moment, I thought she might actually attack the officers. Then, slowly, the metal clinked against the hardwood floor. As they handcuffed her, she kept her eyes locked on me. "This isn't over," she hissed. "I'll tell everyone what you did to my son." "No, Mother, you won't." Olivia's voice was quiet but firm. She held up her phone. "I recorded everything. Your break-in, your threats, your assault. It's all here. And if you don't stop this insanity right now, I'll testify against you myself." Victoria's face crumpled. "Olivia, you wouldn't." "I would. I am. This has to stop." As the police led Victoria away, I heard her sobbing, not the theatrical tears she'd shown at church, but real, broken sounds. Part of me felt pity. A larger part felt relief. But it still wasn't over. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages. Victoria had somehow sent a mass email to every member of Christopher's extended family, every friend, every business contact. The subject line, "The truth about Madison." The email was a masterpiece of manipulation. It painted me as a calculating predator who had taken advantage of Christopher's illness, complete with convenient medical records showing his confused mental state during the property transfer. She even included photos of the house's interior after her break-in, claiming I had destroyed Christopher's possessions in a rage. I watched the responses roll in. Some expressed shock. Others sent messages of support. Many simply asked questions, uncertain what to believe. That's when I noticed a new email from an unexpected source, Dr. Anderson, Christopher's neurologist at Maplewood General. "Mrs. Mitchell, I was disturbed to see medical documents being circulated that appear to be from our hospital. I can confirm these are forgeries. Furthermore, I've been contacted by someone claiming to be Christopher's mother, attempting to access and alter his records. I've reported this to hospital security and would be happy to provide a formal statement." I forwarded the email to Jessica, who replied immediately, "Perfect. The hospital's already filing charges for the records breach. Victoria's facing serious federal charges now. But we need to move fast on damage control for that email blast." I took a deep breath and began composing a reply all. "To everyone who received Victoria's email, here are the facts. Attached you'll find Christopher's actual medical records, the police report from last night's break-in, and video evidence of Victoria's assault on her own daughter. I never wanted to make this public, but I will not allow Christopher's memory to be tainted by these lies." I added the video files, the doctor's statement, and finally, scanned pages from Christopher's journal documenting years of his mother's manipulation. "Christopher knew his mother better than anyone," I wrote. "He knew what she might do after his death. That's why he left me everything I needed to protect our life together. I'm sharing this not out of revenge, but because the truth matters more than Victoria's delusions. Send." Within hours, the responses changed. Family members who had initially been skeptical now expressed horror at Victoria's actions. Friends offered support and apologized for doubting. Christopher's Aunt Helen, who had always been close to Victoria, wrote a particularly moving reply. "I've known Victoria for 40 years, but I never saw, or never wanted to see, this side of her. Madison, I'm so sorry. What you've endured. Christopher chose well when he chose you." Late that afternoon, Olivia came by. Her arm was bruised where Victoria had grabbed her, and her eyes were red from crying. "She's being held for psychiatric evaluation," she said quietly. "The doctors say she's had a break from reality. All these years of controlling everything, and then losing Christopher." She looked up at me. "I'm sorry. For everything. For not seeing it sooner." I poured us both coffee, adding cinnamon to mine for the first time. "You saw it eventually. That's what matters. What happens now?" "Now." I smiled grimly. "Now we prepare for the hearing. Your mother's actions have given us everything we need to end this permanently. Are you ready to testify?" Olivia squared her shoulders. "Yes. It's time someone stood up to her. Christopher would be proud of us both." As she left, I looked at the family photos still hanging in the hallway, Christopher, Olivia, and Victoria at some long ago Christmas. They were all smiling, but now I could see the tension in those smiles, the careful way Christopher positioned himself between his mother and the world. I won't let her win, I whispered to his image. I won't let her destroy what we built. The hearing was scheduled for next week. Victoria was out on bail, with a restraining order keeping her away from both me and Olivia. But I knew better than to think it was over. After all, cornered animals are the most dangerous. And Victoria had just lost everything she ever tried to control. The morning of the hearing dawned clear and bright. I stood before the mirror, adjusting my black blazer, not morning clothes this time, but armor for the final battle. In my briefcase were all the documents we needed: Christopher's journal, the police reports, hospital records, and Olivia's sworn testimony. The courthouse steps were crowded with familiar faces. Christopher's colleagues from Pinnacle Tech, old family friends, even his Aunt Helen, all there to support me. Victoria arrived last, flanked by her expensive lawyers, her designer outfit a stark contrast to her haggard face. She tried to catch my eye as we entered the courtroom. I kept my gaze forward, head high. Today wasn't about her anymore. It was about justice, for me, for Christopher, and even for Olivia. The hearing was surprisingly brief. Victoria's lawyers tried to paint her actions as those of a grieving mother, but the evidence was overwhelming. The forged medical records. The break-in. The assault on Olivia. Each piece of evidence landed like a hammer blow. When Olivia took the stand, Victoria finally broke. "How dare you," she shrieked, rising from her seat. "I gave you everything. Both of you. This is how you repay me." The judge's gavel cracked like thunder. "Mrs. Blake, control yourself or you will be held in contempt." But Victoria was beyond control. He was my son. Everything he had was because of me. She has no right. "No, mother," Olivia's voice cut through the chaos, strong and clear. "Christopher had everything because he worked for it. Because he was kind and brilliant and nothing like you wanted him to be. Madison didn't steal him, you drove him away. And now you've driven me away too." Victoria collapsed into her chair, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. The judge's ruling was decisive. Not only was my ownership of the house confirmed, but Victoria was ordered to pay damages for the break-in and harassment. The restraining order was made permanent. She was also facing separate criminal charges for the attempted medical records fraud. As we left the courthouse, reporters gathered on the steps. Victoria pushed past them, head down, her designer bag clutched like a shield. But I stood tall, Olivia beside me. "Madison," one reporter called out. "Do you have any comment on the ruling?" I thought for a moment, then smiled. Sometimes the hardest battles aren't fought with weapons, but with truth. Today, truth won. That evening, as I left the courthouse victorious, I thought the drama was finally over. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, I received a frantic call from Olivia. "Madison, Mom's trying to sell Christopher's original garden designs to rival tech." She had copies of his notebooks. My heart stopped. Those designs weren't just plans, they were Christopher's legacy, filled with innovations he dreamed of bringing to life. And rival tech was Pinnacle's biggest competitor. "She's meeting their executives tonight at the Cedar Crest Hotel," Olivia continued. "She's desperate for money since losing everything. She doesn't care who she hurts anymore." I grabbed my keys. "Call Nathan at Pinnacle. Tell him to meet us there." The confrontation at the hotel was intense. Victoria, cornered in the lobby with Christopher's stolen notebooks, looked more desperate than ever. "You took everything from me," she screamed. "These designs are all I have left of my son." "No," I said firmly. "What you have there is stolen property. And you're about to sell your own son's dreams to his competitors." Security cameras caught everything: Victoria's attempted corporate espionage, her breakdown, her final surrender as the police led her away. This time, there would be no coming back. No more chances. But life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. A week later, I was sitting in my doctor's office, still processing the stress of Victoria's final attack, when I received news that changed everything. "Congratulations, Mrs. Mitchell. You're 8 weeks pregnant." I stared at the ultrasound screen, tears flowing freely. Christopher and I had been trying for a baby before his stroke. Now, his final gift to me was growing inside me, a piece of him, a new beginning. The garden took on new meaning after that. Each flower I planted was for our child. Every peaceful corner I created would be a place for them to play and learn. Christopher's dreams of a healing garden would live on through our baby. Olivia was overjoyed at becoming an aunt. She helped me transform one of the spare rooms into a nursery, incorporating elements of the garden theme Christopher had loved so much. Hand-painted vines climbed the walls, and the ceiling twinkled with starlights like our evening garden. As my belly grew, so did our community. The garden became a gathering place for other expectant mothers, a peaceful haven where we shared hopes and fears. I started a small program teaching children about gardening, knowing my own child would soon join these lessons. "Your daddy knew about you," I whispered to my bump one evening, sitting in Christopher's favorite garden spot. "He planned this whole garden with children in mind. He just knew." Victoria's final attempt to hurt us had backfired completely. Instead of destroying Christopher's legacy, she'd inadvertently brought about its most beautiful continuation. While she faced charges for corporate espionage, I was creating new life, both in the garden and within me. 7 months after the courthouse victory, I gave birth to our daughter, Rose Victoria Mitchell. Not named after her grandmother, but after the flowers Christopher had loved, symbols of beauty growing from thorny beginnings. Olivia was there through everything, the best aunt a baby could have. She'd found her own healing in helping others, running therapy sessions in our garden while baby Rose napped nearby in her outdoor bassinet. Today, as I sit in our thriving garden, watching Rose take her first wobbly steps among the flowers her father dreamed of, I understand something profound. The best revenge isn't success, money, or even seeing your enemies fall. It's finding happiness they never thought you could have, creating life where they tried to sow destruction. Rose reaches for a butterfly, giggling as it dances just beyond her grasp. She has Christopher's eyes and his gentle spirit. In her laugh, I hear echoes of his joy. Victoria's final letter still sits unopened in my desk drawer, gathering dust. I don't need to read it anymore. My story isn't about her, it's about love, growth, and new beginnings. As for me, I'm Madison, mother to Christopher's daughter, guardian of his garden, and proof that love grows stronger than hate ever could. Our garden is more than a sanctuary now, it's a legacy of love, a testament to healing, and a promise to the future. And watching our daughter grow among the flowers her father dreamed of, I know this is exactly the happy ending Christopher would have wanted.